Hello, everyone. A warm good morning to those who are in US and warm good evening to those who are in Nepal. My name is Shrestha, and I am a social media team member of our organization, Nepali Women in Computing, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Before we start, a very warm welcome to the sixth NWiC Educate session, and a big thank you to every one of you for joining us with us today. And in this, it's like I know timing may not be perfect for every one of us, but then you decided to compromise either your sleep or either your evening plans to be with us today. We are really grateful and super thankful to you for that. Your support like this helps us keep going and continue the sessions in the future as well. And just a quick favor, like if you all are comfortable in turning on your video, please do so. We'd really appreciate that. But please make sure you're muted so that there's no any disturbance during the presentation. And just a quick reminder, this meeting or session will be recorded and will later be posted in our YouTube channel. And when I say our YouTube channel, it means Nepali Women in Computing's YouTube channel. So if you want to rewatch this session, or if you know someone who wanted to be here with us today but could not for some reason, please let them know that they will always have the chance to watch the recorded version in the YouTube, which I believe will be posted sometime later in this week. And yeah, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So please feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat, and we'll be sure to address them to our speaker today. And yeah, just be sure that all of your questions will be addressed. Moving ahead, I'd like to give a brief introduction about our organization, Nepali Women in Computing, or as we say, NWiC. NWiC is one of the AnitaB.org sisters and a global community of all the Nepali women in technology. I mean, this organization was created with the aim of, educating, empowering, and celebrating the Nepali women in technology. And we advocate for gender equality in STEM, and we have been conducting various programs and series of events in order to achieve that goal. And for example, we have NWiC Stories, which is a monthly series where we highlight and celebrate the powerful stories of all the Nepali women who have had a very impactful journey in technology. Likewise, like we have different training programs. For example, we had a month-long program or training program in open source contribution, and we have different other sessions like where we talk about technology in general. For example, we have different sessions where the seniors guide the students, aspiring students, to about the US applications and how to like make everything possible and help in any way possible. So yeah, those are different events, and NWiC Educate session is one of those many events within our organization. But I'd like to mention that this session is like a little different than our usual session in the sense that in NWiC Educate, we try to keep the technology a little aside and talk about a non-technical or non-technological world and discuss important topics within them. We try to discuss the topics which are usually, unaddressed or underrepresented or usually misunderstood in general. So like in the past, our topics have wide ranged from something as crucial and important and sensitive as gender equality and diversity to something like a topic of completely different word like stock market, which is again very important to have information on. So we at NWiC believe that talking about this topics or discussing about them as a group and just gaining information like will help us understand those topics better and raise awareness among us. So what we try to do is we invite guest speakers with some kind of expertise on the topic and request them or ask them to provide some information to us within a limited time frame of 1 hour or so. And yeah, that's about it about our NWiC Educate session. And our session, today's session, the topic for our today's session is mental health, which is again very crucial and often misunderstood, especially in our country like Nepal. So we are very grateful to have Mr. Shantanu Sharma as the speaker for today's session. He is a mental health advocate and speaker, and he has paraplegia and dealt with depression and OCD for the last 6 years, and he is also a suicide attempt survivor. I mean, we are super grateful to have him here today to share his personal experience and any suggestions slash advice that he might have had for us to talk about mental health in general. I am definitely looking so forward to his presentation and everything he has to say. Now, I am not going to take much time, and I request our speaker, Mr. Sharma, to please introduce himself and take the lead of the platform. All yours, Shantanu.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Namaste, hello everyone. I'm Shantanu Sharma, and I'm also very grateful to be here with you all today and in this session. I'm sure many of you, it's morning time over there. Here it's evening time, but thankful that we get to have this platform to share our thoughts and have this session today. So talking about my background, yeah, as Ruby wonderfully said, yeah, I have been through like a lot of mental issues myself as well. But I'll like kind of rewind back a little bit in my life and tell you a little bit of background about me. So like the first 10 years, I grew up in Nepal, and then after that, I moved to the US. And for like, let's say the next, my life, like my high school, middle school, all school was conducted over there. And then I went to college as well. But since I was, like a little kid in US, like I enjoyed playing football a lot. Or they call it soccer there, but same thing, right? I so as a kid, growing up there, like it was just like it became a passion for me quickly. And I also kept on, improving and getting better at it. And when I was 16, I decided that, like, we all have dreams and ambitions when we are young. I'm sure many of you do as well. And at that time, I felt like this is what I want to do with my life and play football. And so I had that, as my target since I was 16. And but like due to a lot of injury troubles, I always faced a lot of like obstacles, let's say, to keep myself injury free so that I could play to my fullest potential. And not being able to do that, in one hand, made me really frustrated. Like this continued through high school and college, and on the other hand, it also propelled me to like have more drive and determination and mental fortitude to keep going despite all odds. And you know so many days, that motivation to just keep going, keep getting better. Like I had like surgeries, so many physical therapy sessions and everything, but still like I did not understand why. Like I took care of my body so well, like when I looked at other people and the things they did, uh, of people my age, I never did any of that. Like go to parties or anything like that. I always like my whole like day revolved around me just uh dedicated towards becoming a better player, and also academics, as well. My academics were always, let's say, good. I mean, uh, I finished high school there, and then I went to US in, I went to college in Ohio. And academic was always going good, and I was studying neuroscience and psychology as well. And but this is football was like my thing that I really wanted to do in my life. But it always seemed that no matter how hard I tried or how well I took care of myself or did all the small things right, I always ended up, uh, let's say, like injured. It's very difficult for me to explain like how much dedication I put into it, but when you put so much effort into, you know, going somewhere and getting better at something, and every time like you try to do that, like life just has like other plans or decide something else for you, and this like, let's say, battle was going on for years since I was 16 to like I was like 21, let's say. And I remember in my junior year, I got cut from the team there, and then my college team, I got cut from the college team there. And after that, I felt like, no matter like through how much dedication, hard work I put in, and you know recover ahead of time after surgery, and do everything I can in my power, like I just did not understand why like my legs always like uh, life, my legs always had something else to say. And this frustration was growing for years, like I said. But at that time, it was like a breaking point when I got cut from the team. I felt like, this is like maybe the end of my footballing aspirations at a competitive level. And after that, I tried to keep myself together, and I still was going to classes, you know, had a decent academic record, still doing well, well, pursuing my degree and all. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, like felt like all this frustration and anguish that was inside of me for years dealing with this, it just bursted. And I was in my room alone, and I just remember like, just out of frustration, like throwing stuff in my room. And then after that, I started crying, seeing my parents and my graduation picture. And you know that was the first time in my life, I think, I felt like, like just running off to a bridge and jumping off, like the first time I got like such a thought. And I just felt like so burned out in life during that time. And I talked to my dean, and he suggested that maybe I should take a semester break, go back home. At that time, my family had moved from US to Nepal as well. So he was very supportive, the dean. He even like supported my aspirations to become a football player, as well as everything. He was just there, supporting me in general, and not just in academics. So I took his advice, and I thought it would be good for me to take a break from things, and just go back with family, and take care of myself. And um, since I came back, I mean, at that time when I came back after that, like, let's say, the thought of depression was first occurred to me a little bit before that, I would say. My roommate actually was the first one. Even being a psychology student, sometimes even we are not aware of what's going around with us. It's one thing reading about something, what experiencing and going through something is something else. So and he's the one who actually thought like, uh, like like he was telling me like, maybe you had depression or something. And I told him, read me the symptoms again. And like he looked it up, and like all those things, like low mood and loss of interest, uh always feeling like disconnected with everything, in a way. And always wanting to sleep, like lack of motivation, and trouble socializing with people. And all of these, like, it really seemed apparent. And then when I came back to Nepal and saw a psychiatrist here, to get professional help, and I started taking their medication. And they did diagnose me for depression, and started taking their medication, but it just like got worse even while taking the medication. And everybody's experience is different. I mean, uh, because depression is something that's it cannot be said like people might think that some of the misconceptions of depression is that, oh, like you're responsible for your depression, you're responsible for your mental illness. But the truth is, like, it's just like a illness, like if you have high blood pressure, uh, there are so many people in this world, they, even myself, recently after I had COVID this year, all of a sudden I had high BP and needed to start taking medication, even though like all my blood check and everything, like it's all healthy and good. So like sometimes, even if like we're all doing the right things, and all of a sudden, we get some illness, sometimes so many people, they get fever and you don't know where it came from, so that's kind of thing with mental illness as well. Like you can nobody's immune to that. That's what I'm trying to say. And people think that depression is like you caused your depression, or that there's just a lot of stigma and misconception on that. And it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and it can be, there are people who are more predisposed for that as well. And because our brain is a chemical factory too, in a way. And uh, so yeah, like I started taking medication, but it got worse. And the funny thing is that I was like
What happened?
I think we lost him. Let's wait a couple of minutes for him to like join us back in.
yeah. And continuing with my depression story, when I came back to Nepal, even a little bit before that, when I was in US, I actually started losing interest in football. Like I just like like when it came to a point where I felt like, like it's okay, like I can like live without not playing at a competitive level. Like I can play for fun if I want to. But at that point I was like, I really did not want to play or have anything to do with the sport. And even when I came back to Nepal, me and my dad always used to watch football matches, and I like didn't even want to do that. So the thing is, like I let go of football, and I did not want anything to do with it. But depression did not let go of me. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not like you cannot say that football caused my depression, and because and you let go of football, then your depression will be okay. It doesn't work like that. That's not what depression is. And because if that was true, then if like I thought like, okay, like it's okay, like I don't need to pursue football, then logically thinking, it would make sense that depression would go away as well. But depression actually got worse and worse for me at that time. Like I just could not, like I felt such a low point that I had to just literally sleep myself through those days, and things were not going well. And even when like I went out like to outside of Kathmandu Valley to really nice places with my family, I just felt like, what is wrong with me, like inside, like why am I not happy, like like I'm so like appreciative of what's around me, my family and all. I felt like at that point too, in a way. But I just felt like, why do I always have to like feel sad for no reason, like feel this emptiness inside of me? And that's what depression really is, like being sad and empty. I mean, feeling this void inside of you that you don't know where it came from, like why it's there, but it's there for no reason, and you just feel so low for no reason. And I think that's the best way I can define depression from my experience and what I've heard from others as well. And things were not going well in Nepal, so I thought, like maybe I'll go back to US, at least finish my degree, you know, and then continue my life from there. But even going back, like things like my brain and mind was such at such a low level that it just could not function anymore, literally. Like I went to classes and I just could not even remember any of the stuff I learned in my previous years. And if I tried to do an assignment, I would just get a headache reading even a paragraph, and it was just not doable any of academic work for me. And even socializing was so hard. Like if I talked to someone for 10, 15 minutes, I would just get a massive headache out of nowhere. And like it was just so hard for me to like cope with school life, like life in general. Like I felt so suffocated at that point. Like I did not even know why I was feeling suffocated, for what reason. Even at that point, I tried to seek professional help in US as well. I even spent 1 week in psychiatric ward, and I just felt it was such a really bad experience for me over there, and for various reasons. And I just felt like it was very unsupportive and mismanaged. And I just had to kind of like fake myself that I was getting better so that I would get out of there. Otherwise, they would have kept me in longer. So, but this like it's the best way I can put it is there's this internal suffocation inside of your head, like 24/7, like the moment you're awake till the moment you can fall asleep, if you can fall asleep, that is. And the whole day, day and night, like I had trouble like breathing. Like I felt like I was choking, like literally, like I had trouble breathing. I felt like that's how like uh the mental torture that I was in contributed so much damage to my well-being. And just to get through the day, it was just like the hardest thing ever. Like at that point, it just felt like for me to stay alive is the hardest thing that I could even imagine doing at that point. That's how it felt like. And like I did everything I could. I felt like at that point, seek professional help, go back to family, a new place, and then came back to US. Like I felt like at that point in life, no matter what I did or how hard I tried, I always like life always seemed to say something else. And I just did not know. And I just felt like, why am I just suffering so much all the time? And like, and then my school, obviously they sent me back home again because I could not continue my academics. And at that point I felt like if I see my family when I come back to Nepal, like I hope like I'll have a change in my heart, because at that point I felt like this is the end of my life, because the amount of suffering that I'm going through each second that I'm awake is just this internal hell that's suffocating the life out of me. And when I came back, even I felt like I was just at a state where I was just so numb and gone already. And after coming back, even seeing my family, like I just still felt like I just cannot keep on going in life. And at that point, unfortunately, it had reached such a devastating state for me mentally. And the after I came back the next night, I went to the roof of my house, and then I jumped like 30 meters from there backwards. And after that I had a spinal cord injury and broken femur, a lot of other injuries, broken ribs. And uh, to my surprise, it was that I found myself alive at the ground. I still remember this every detail, like every detail, like it was yesterday. And me falling and people picking me up and taking me to a taxi and then to emergency and then to a hospital. And I spent like a week in ICU, and none of it only started sinking to me in like the next day. And I started realizing, oh, like what have I done? And when my dad came in to see me, that's when I just bursted crying so hard. And at that point, like I had a spinal cord injury that paralyzed me from the waist down. And but I managed to get myself stable soon. And after that, I had to like literally start from scratch again in my life, build myself up physically and mentally and emotionally, heal from that. And all of this kept on. It was what would I say? It was like a new life, but like challenging in more ways than I would have ever imagined. And but today, um, so like when I was feeling at that point, my mental state was still like that this drive that I had in me to like get myself better, whether that was in school, whether that was in football, or just life in general as a friend, as a son, or whatever way I can. And this drive in me, that's what like helped me get through physical therapy, and at least at that point make myself stable to be a stable to be mobile in a wheelchair, and like be able to sit in a wheelchair and talk to you like I'm talking right now. And that happened in 2016, so it's been more than 5 years. And uh it forced me to see life from a different way. And a lot of times it was very uh uh still very difficult, because like obviously because of my injury and everything, like as the months went by, I realized that my prognosis and recovery indicates that there is no cure actually for spinal cord injuries. So the only hope right now is if people recover naturally, and that happens quickly, very in the first year. And but I just recovered, I would say, at that point up to just making myself stable and functionable in a wheelchair. And but that started like a whole new life for me as well. But it, like looking back, I feel like this all like contributes, and your past. I'm actually grateful and thankful towards my past, because you know after all that I went through, like it taught me something. It made me a better, stronger, and wiser person. And uh, things that I realized uh, from that period, let's say of last 5 years, is more than I realized in my life before that. And but how I came above it, I mean mentally, how I got better, let's say. And mentally, my depression was it was getting better overall, I would say. But I started having a lot of issues with OCD, with ruminating thoughts, and because of that issue, it caused me to be depressed. uh, and I had trouble going through the days again. Like if I woke up or was awake, like my mind was automatically occupied with some thought, and I just could not get rid of it. Like it was like on a loop. And all of this was just really mentally making me difficult to continue. And after all that I've been through, and I thought, okay, like all I want to is just be, just like everyone else, just be uh, living a happy life. Like I don't even need to be able to walk or anything. I like whoever, whatever state I am in this present moment, I just want to be at peace. That's all I wanted, even when I had depression as well. And you know and this this journey really took off, I felt like, of me finding peace and happiness since last year in lockdown, when uh, I got connected with spirituality. And when I say spirituality, like a lot of people might think religion, or I mean, in a way, but it can be religion as well, I suppose. But what I mean by spirituality is seeing life just beyond yourself and your everyday problems and issues, and rising above that towards a better self, a higher self. Understanding yourself and life better. And uh, in a way, before this lockdown period too, uh, one of the things that had started doing after I became stable in a wheelchair was I started writing, like, blogs and just reflections and that kind of things, and at least it allowed me an outlet to pour my thoughts, emotions, and whatever was just aching inside of me for years, or everything in my subconscious and conscious mind. um, and it just allowed me to just take it all out in there. And when I did, it also brought some clarity in me. And at the same time, I started sharing it with other people, and the feedback I got was so supportive. And like, at that moment I realized that life is like, life can be just, there's so much more to life than just our problems and ourselves. And when I started sharing my story, my thoughts, my reflections, and my journey, uh, you know, I saw the positive impact and the influence it could have on other people. And that's when it really made a help uplift myself to a certain point, and also made me realize how there's so much more to life than just ourselves and our problems and what we go through each day, or get tangled upon uh, all the little things. And in spirituality too, that's like, in a way, the theme of how my journey continued. Seeing life just beyond yourself. And um, because I realized in life that uh, it might sound ironic, but it's the truest statement you'll ever hear, that acceptance is the only way you can move forward in life. Like, but accepting does not mean that like, you're giving up, or no, it's actually just accepting whatever is at this moment, and still having the heart and courage to live a life with peace and happiness, and moving forward and living this present moment. Because like, uh, life only exists in this present moment. The past is like a dream, and the future, it's just a future is just a depiction of our mind as well. So whatever life we have, whatever we're experiencing right now, that's all we like know as life, uh, honestly. And all of these things, like, getting connected with spirituality. And I actually started watching Mahabharata since last year, and it had a profound impact in, like, me, like, understanding more about life and myself, and all those characters that were in this epic. I started, like, connecting, like, little bit with each one of them, and I saw myself in them as well. Like, I saw, like, myself, like Arjun as well, asking those questions about life to Krishna. And I realized he was confused as I was. And then it continued. And with I started doing meditation, with getting connected with arts of living, and that really helped me. Going in silence meditation, that was like one of the most um, most impactful 3 days of my life, because that's where I realized that the fundamental thing for us to be happy is just happiness is not something that is found. It's actually just something that is realized, and it can only be realized in this present moment within you. And that your own existence is the source of happiness and peace, and that you don't need anything external, to you don't need to achieve something to be happy. You can be happiness is a present state of mind. It's not something you get from achieving something. And that's what I realized, that uh, I can be happy and I can be at peace with whoever or however, in whatever circumstance I may be right now. Even if I'm paraplegic and not be able to walk, and even if I'm dealing with OCD, depression, and still taking medications. And but I I what I've learned in the last 5 years, let's say, with mental illnesses, especially in the last 5 6 years, is the more we fight, like so many of us, like even just not mental illness, anything in life, we tend to fight with ourselves, fight with our mind, our expectations, our ambitions. But whatever the mind resists, or like whatever it fights with, like it tends to persist more. So but like when we accept where we are and who we are, acceptance brings, peace, compassion towards ourselves, and it helps us get over those problems in that way. That's how, because if we continue to fight with ourselves, our thoughts, it'll continue. The mind will keep on, trying to resist, but it'll continue persisting. So that's what I've learned, and accepting myself. You know it's easy to say let go, I know. So I just try to say, whatever is happening right now, let it be, like whatever thoughts you're getting right now. And all of this practice, acceptance, letting things be, and just being grateful and in this present moment with happiness and peace within you, all of this practice, I realized, um, is what you learn through meditation. And it was really, and like having this knowledge, like it came with doing more practice of meditation. And so I would say spirituality and meditation definitely helped me a lot. And it was the biggest difference maker for me, but everybody's journey is unique. And but that's just what I've learned. And but more than that, it just taught me more about life and how to see a life from a bigger and better perspective, above just myself and whatever I've been through and I still go through today. And that, we don't need anything in particular, or we don't need us to be in a certain way to be happy or at peace. It's all something that is a state of mind, and it can happen in this present moment right now. And all of these practices, that's what it taught me. And yeah, and like one big thing is also that really helped me in this journey is gratitude. Like we can always be grateful for whatever. I mean, it's very easy for our mind to uh, be stuck on things we don't have, or see other people and what they have and what we don't have. But if we keep on holding on to those things, then we will miss all the good things that are still happening in our lives. Just for me, like just being able to wake up in the morning, like get some, just feel alive, and have a cup of tea. Having chai. Chai is a big thing for all of us Nepalis. They're just like, and then like spending time with my family, playing with my dog. Just going through the day. There's so many things we can be grateful for, and having that state of mind to be grateful for things makes us really have more energy and appreciation towards life, in whatever circumstances we may be, and that our problems are, our whatever we're dealing with in our minds, our problems, we are not our problems, we're not our thoughts, we're not our mind, we're something above that, and we can rise above all these things. And that's what I've learned through spirituality, and is the basis of spirituality from my experience and knowledge. And that's what I want to tell you all today. And like right now, like if I hadn't gone through all that in my past, became a paraplegic, survived from suicide attempt, and all those years that I've suffered from depression and OCD. I never thought in my life that I would become a mental health advocate and speaker, but due to all of those things, it led me to here, and something that I honestly like. That's what I said earlier in the session, that I'm honestly grateful towards my past, because looking back, all those things happened for me to see life from a even better, bigger, and more beautiful perspective, and all this experience that were, devastating, horrific, but it all happened for me to get to this point, and continue on this journey. And I'm just so thankful towards my past too. And I don't tend to hold like regrets or grudges, because holding those kinds of things only makes us suffer in this present moment, and holding on to those things will just make yourself miserable. So why would you want to do that to yourself? Like I said, acceptance is the way we can move forward in life, towards a more peaceful and happier life. And uh, you know and that's the message I try to get across to everyone, and yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your personal story with us. I mean, the way you led us through your past experience by talking about how it started, your journey, and how you kind of dealt with it. It's quite inspiring. And I found it quite inspiring personally. And I think the audience here felt the same way. I mean, you are a very strong individual and indeed a survivor. Our world needs a survivor like you. We're super proud of you,
um,
Shantanu.
thank you
And
very much.
as you said, as irony as it may sound, acceptance is the key. And what I also feel is that accepting who you are and caring less about what the society has to say or what the other person has to say is one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself and your own health, be it physical or mental or any perception at all. So we if you have any other things to say, you can go ahead, or else we can move to the Q&A sessions. We did receive a lot of questions from our Google sign-in form. So whenever you're ready, we'll be moving on to the Q&A
Yeah.
sessions.
Yeah, I just summarize this with a statement. I just want to let everyone know that whatever you're going through right now or have been through in the past, life can get better regardless of all of those things. And that it, for me, like I never thought my life would get any, I was a point where I just could not go on in life, and then tried to commit suicide, and I survived. And after surviving that, I found out that I was half paralyzed, and but today I'm here with you all to tell you that, at the end, when looking back, all those dots will connect, and you'll see why, like why those things happen. And I just want to say, however, like so many of you might be feeling, stressed, or like, suffering in your own ways, and I respect all of you for that. And you have so much courage within you to still, you know, just stay alive, trying to get through the day. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because I know like the hardest thing for me at one point in my life was just to get through the day. And I just want to say that, you are happiness and peace, and that you don't need anything external to determine that. And it's in your source. And then that's the message I want to say.
Absolutely. I mean, I like the fact that how you connect your past, not very good, unpleasant experience to something, to a bright future. I really love that attitude and vibes about you. So let's move to the Q&A sessions. And let me just remind you, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat as well. Once we're done with the questions from Google sign-in form, we'll be addressing them as well. So please feel free to drop any questions you might have about mental health or anything you want to ask Shantanu. Please feel free to chat and drop them in the chat. Okay, the first question we have is from Pramiti, and the question is, can we talk about journaling? That is the question she asked, and yeah, you can take you can.
I think even in my when I shared earlier, I talked about writing and journaling. I mean, writing in general, but journaling, like I feel like it's such a good tool and practice that everyone can incorporate. Even just like 5 minutes or writing 5 things that you're grateful for each day. And just like there's so much clutter in our head and so many thoughts, and when we start writing and putting it down in a journal or whatever way you want to put your thoughts down, it starts bringing some clarity in your head and also some positive energy, because like after we take out all the negative stuff by writing, and then slowly then we can start like in that process you start seeing that, oh, like one or two things are like there's something good out of this, or you see like a silver lining in that process. I like I can almost guarantee you that. And so it's a fantastic thing to incorporate, and definitely helps with people dealing with just everyday mental stress to mental illnesses, and it just helps us um you know get rid of that clutter in here. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I have never tried like writing things with pen and paper, but I often find myself in my mobile notes writing things, what I feel about, and that kind of gives me a sense of relief. So I know for a fact that if you don't want to share it with any person or so, you can do it, just write it on
Yeah,
your own, let your
definitely. Yeah,
emotions out,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna help, as
See,
you said.
see, that's how I do it as well. I write it on my phone.
Yeah. And the next question we have for you is from Mr. Vivek, and he says, how to do self care, like how to stop ignoring how people think about you and everything.
Um, I feel like that comes a lot with our perspective towards life, and what really matters. Uh, it's a lot from experience as well. And at the end of the day, experience is our best teacher. So, if you're experiencing that or going through whatever emotions that you're going through, it is leading you to that point where you're realizing it. And then once you've realized it, that's like the biggest step in that process. And after that, it's just a matter of, having that perspective in your head, that again, like your happiness and peace comes from within you. It's not defined by what people say about you or how they look at you. And that, you don't need to, you know, please anybody to prove your worth in life. You can just simply, let it be, live, with happiness, joy, peace that is already within you. We just need to like, it's like uplifting ourselves from that, I feel. And, things like meditation, that's why it has helped me so much with that, I would say. And that having that higher perspective, bigger perspective. I hope that
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And the other question we have for you is from Smriti, and she asks, I know the phrase time heals every problem, but it is quite hard to be patient with that double quotes time, as she says it. And so, how to react to the that's the first question, and her question is like how to manage time or how to like just be patient with time. Do what suggestions do you have to give to us about that?
Oh, wow. That statement really resonated with me as well, because I know when someone else tells you that, and when you're not feeling well, you get similar thoughts. But um, what I would say is time definitely heals, but do not wait for the time to heal you. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's all about, if we are waiting for something to make us better or heal us, that healing, that getting better, it all starts with awareness in this present moment, and that you don't need certain amount of, I mean, sometimes it's okay to have bad days, it's okay to lie in bed or like, sleep, sleep. And but you just need to like get your mind back to the present moment. And that comes a lot with perspective and a lot of practice as well. And motivation is something, it's just like a temporary feeling, but discipline, practice, perspective, rehearsing that, that's what dictates and makes those patterns in our mind and changes our life for the better. And so I would say don't, time definitely heals, and it will. And looking back, you'll see that this whole period that you felt like just went to waste. Like I felt like even after I became paraplegic for so many years, I just stayed home and did nothing. And I kind of like waited in a way as well for time to heal me. But I started, rejoicing in this present moment and, you know, getting on that path towards that self. And that really, like, we don't need to wait for anything time for us to, heal, but it definitely helps at the same time.
I mean, absolutely, as you said, there like we are not always gonna have good days. Like it's okay to not be okay for certain
Yeah,
days, but
exactly.
at the
Exactly.
end of the day, what I think is knowing your worth, knowing what you're capable of, and just doing whatever you enjoy is the like
Yeah.
ultimate
And
solution.
like whatever this low point you're in right now, or it might be day, week, months, when you look back at it, like it hasn't gone to waste, because of all those low points, all those weeks, months, it has led you to a, wiser, stronger, and better version of yourself, and understanding your life, yourself, and life in general, in a better way, bigger and better perspective. So it's all part of the process and all part of your path. And you know that moment, please don't think like whatever you're going through or in your past, please don't feel like it was all a waste, because none of it was, because it all led you to somewhere and will lead you to somewhere that's better than you would have ever thought. That's what I've learned in my life in the last 6 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the low points and any hard experiences actually leads you to a better one. It may be a hard route, but it will
Yes.
eventually lead to what you deserve and where you are worth of. So I think another question from Smriti herself is that how to, I think you kind of answered this question, but just to address the questions he asked, how to react to a person who ignores you, like who disrespects you, and how to respond to that bad feeling without feeling like you're a bad person.
Good question. I think a lot of people uh, deal with this issue as well.
I mean,
Um,
that this kind of question is from me as
yeah,
well. I second to that
no,
question.
even like I believe like we're also alike in so many ways, and but I feel like like being vulnerable and vulnerability is, it can be a strength for us as well, because it shows that there's so much common between us as human beings, like me being vulnerable and talking about my issues, and like even me saying that even I have gotten affected if someone ignored me or like that. But me saying that and putting it out there also like makes other people feel like, oh, they can relate to me, and that we're all in this journey together, and that they're not alone, and we're all part of this process to becoming a better self. And going back to the question, I would say it's just about having perspective again, basically, that your happiness and peace is not defined by them ignoring or accepting your whatever conversation or message or call or etc. It's just about perspective in life, and that you don't need anything else to define that.
I mean, that it is true. And at the end of the day, the perception and acceptance is what matters. So Yeah, so moving on to next question we have is from Mahima, and she has just talked about anxiety attacks and how one can handle with it.
Yeah, I would say with anxiety, you know, there's so much um, issues, like even during this period with COVID and since lockdown last year. And what I realized is with anxiety, practicing breathing techniques really help when even when you feel stressed. And so there's uh, various breathing techniques that you can even look up to YouTube, or like join a program, or just like any, there's so many ways you can explore it. And like those breathing techniques help like calm your state down, because like calming our breath is the way how we can connect our body, mind and spirit. And that's how using our breath to those breathing techniques, regulating our stress thoughts through our breath, it brings equanimity in our self and our overall well-being. And so I would say breathing techniques. And because when you're really anxious, having perspective might not be the best way to go about it, because when you're so anxious that so nothing they say or might affect you. But once you get to a more calmer state with breathing techniques and uh, having that higher perspective, and the everything I talked about, self-awareness, and the fact that you already know that you're anxious right now is a huge step, because awareness is the first and one of the biggest steps towards recovery for anything in life, I feel. So it's great that you're aware. And you know I honestly believe that whoever might feel anxious, that practicing breathing, just being in this present moment, uh, and having this bigger perspective will definitely go a long way in helping them.
And I can second to whatever Shantanu said, because I kind of do the same thing, the breathing thing. I mean, I try to take a long, deep breath for
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
3 times before
yeah.
everything that happens. And I don't know, but I just tend to keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully, I don't know that. And that kind of gives me a sense of, that I will be able to achieve that. I'll be able to like cross the stage, and I will be at a good and at a normal stage, out of anxious stage or whatever it is. So our next question for you is from Mr. Avash, and he asks like, how do we communicate with our parents regarding mental health? Because this is not something we quite see often in our Nepali community.
Yes. Um, let's say I would say that if we're trying to convey something to someone, argument is not going to help neither you or the other person. So um, we educating them about mental health, and that the stigmas toward mental health, and what I mentioned earlier in the session about things like depression, and like it's not something that is like entirely our fault, or that we're responsible for, and that it's like an illness just like any other illness, like if you get fever or cold, you know and that kind of stuff. And just educating them more about mental health. And um, just having compassion in your heart as well, while um, conveying that. Because if we try to argue with others and you tell them your way of thinking is wrong, mine is right, that's not going to help other people understand. So but speaking honestly from your side, like hiding to your parents, I know like it might be easy for me to say that they won't, because someone's parents might not be understanding or whatever reason. Um, but if you try to like say it in a way that they can relate to, like I said, like with like it's just like any other illness, or like health issues that is there. And like a lot of people are afraid of getting psychiatric and professional help. And it's like, what I would say is like, if your arm is broken, wouldn't you go to the orthopedic doctor to fix it, right? So if you're mentally or in your mind something is broken, then seeking professional help is that's doing the same thing. So you don't need to look at it in a bad, I mean, like as a taboo or something that is forbidden or just looked down upon. You know, it's just that's what I would like to say. I hope that helps.
It absolutely does. And as you said, like people don't really acknowledge the fact that mental health really matters. And if you're like struggling with their mental health, they don't tend to seek out like any advice slash help. But like as you said, it is equal to any physical illness. And the fact that when you have any kind of when you're weak or physically ill, you see the symptoms, versus when you are mentally ill, you are the only one going through that experience, and nobody will be uh, will know what you have been through and what you're going through. So for that reason, you have to like come maybe take a step more and come and be able to speak about it so that the other people will know about it. I mean, the first step is from yourself. I mean, you have to speak about it, what you're feeling to others, and that way the other person can actually be a good help and help you in any way possible. And
Yes, and one more thing I would like to add to that is, uh, from my experience and what I've been through, like mental health is at least as equally important as physical health, because you know, where I'm at today, you know, I can tell you that even like I'm happier today in a paralyzed body than I was when I was depressed in a physically able body. So you know, the real you know, the like physical health, mental health, people always like tend to focus on the physical aspect a lot. Even recently in Olympics, this American gymnast, Simone Biles, like she was suffering from a lot of mental stress and opted to, you know, she's like the greatest gymnast, like everybody says, and she opted to you know, opted to drop out from the competition. And you know, but see, this kind of example really brings a lot of encouragement and a source of inspiration and strength to others to do the same thing, because your well-being, you know, whether it's physical or mental, it's equally as important. And from my side, I feel like if we're mentally well, then it doesn't, I mean, if we're mentally well and physically disabled, you know, we can still live a happy life. But so from my experience, I feel like it's even more important. But yeah.
absolutely, yeah, mental and physical well-being goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So the other question we have is from Mahima, and she asks like, what should we do if we feel suffocated all the time?
um Suffocation, yes, mentally it can be very excruciating, like we feel like there's no way out of it. But um you know, again, things like breathing, meditation, uh to it really helps a long way to, you know, to calm ourselves down. And once we can calm ourselves down and, you know, get to a more stable state. And it also comes a lot with accepting your mind for whatever state it is in, like all these thoughts going in your head or like whatever you're suffocating from. Accepting is the only way that you can move forward and make peace with that, because like I said earlier, whatever the mind resists, it persists. So uh, don't make your mind your enemy, make it your friend. And whatever is happening, just be observant, aware of it, and accept it. And, you know, let thoughts come and go. Just don't serve them tea and entertain them and go into them. I know it's easy for me to say, but observing and being aware and just bringing yourself back to the present moment, you know, with breathing and meditation, all of this practice is, you know, that's the key, I feel.
Absolutely. Yes, and we have a question from Mr. Big in the chat, and he asked, like, could you share some of your meditating and breathing techniques that you personally follow?
Um, yeah, sure. I basically follow, like I did Arts of Living Happiness course and advanced meditation course, and that's basically my daily routine of yoga and meditation. And I mean, those breathing techniques and meditation routine. And that's what I follow basically. And, along with that, a lot of like, all this perspective and knowledge about life has come from doing those courses as well. And I realized that, like this practice of meditation, breathing techniques, and this knowledge, and also helping others, doing sewa as it's said in Art of Living as well, helping others in any way, just like even a friend or like, a stranger, or all of these go hand in hand. And like if we can uplift ourselves by doing all these three things and being in good company, or surrounded by people that truly care about you, bring positive energy and vibes in your life. And all this, like is like the package for you to, uh, uh, I mean, that's what I've learned and followed through Arts of Living, and the meditation, and those practices are all from there, basically.
So you talked about few courses that you like took, and if I may ask, like, how are those courses structured? Like, are they online, or everybody can sign up, or is it like a whole thing where you have to, like, it's in a different place, like instructed by different trainers, and how does that work? Could you like give some more
Yeah, sure.
information on that one?
Yeah, even me, like, it really had an impact on me when I did this course online. Like it was all through Zoom, at through the comfort of your home on your bed. For me, it was on my bed, and all it takes is just some quiet, quiet, comfortable space and your laptop, and it's just the volunteers and teachers are just like very wonderful, and uh, um, they accommodate you very well and take you through the session and course. And all it takes is a Zoom, your laptop and some space. And in the advanced meditation program, I had to sit in silence for 3 days. So like basically no social media and no speaking verbally. So that's what I did. But silence is that course is what basically changed my life and taught me more about meditation and all these, like having that bigger perspective in life. And it has made the biggest impact on improving my mental health through depression and OCD. So I definitely I cannot recommend that course enough. I mean, it has really helped me so much, had such a positive impact in my life. And because like silence, they say like silence is when your soul speaks, like once you like, like when you're in silence, like you cannot talk or talk about this to someone or your thoughts, so you're just left with your own self, right? So if you continue fighting, then it's not gonna go well. This war will continue going like forever. So well, that's where you start learning acceptance, accepting your mind, your thoughts, and like just observing and being self-aware and just being in this present moment. And That's where you realize at the end of the course or through the course that you don't need anything to be happy and at peace. It all is a state of mind in the present moment, and it's all within you for it to manifest. So all of this is what I've learned in that course, and this knowledge and what I'm sharing with you today.
Absolutely. Like, as you said, silence is not about being empty, like, it's full of answers there. And we have one more questions in the chat from Mr. Avash, and he asks, what should be the response slash action or slash words when someone approaches us while they're having issues with anxiety or depression?
Mm. Don't be judgmental, just be compassionate, and you know don't assume something about them, or just be kind, open-minded, and compassionate. Like compassion is the one force that can help heal others and yourself. So that's what I would say basically.
I mean, yes, that person took a lot of guts to reach out to you. He thought that you
Exactly,
were
exactly.
trustworthy and
You
you
know,
could
imagine going through so much, but still trying to get better, trying to reach out to someone. So, uh, they have so much courage in them, and they trusted enough to you that they reached. They were going about reaching out to you. You know, and just that's why, like, if someone approaches me, like, one thing I always say to them is just, I'm just thankful that you at least reached out, and um, that shows the testament of courage and strength within yourself, that you reached out, and that I just try to give them compassion, and instead of giving them advice. So many people are, like, whenever someone shares something, they already have it made up in their mind what they're gonna reply to that, or you should do this, do that, or. But I feel like, especially someone who's mentally suffering, it's more important for them that we listen, just listen and be there for them, than rather just be quick to just give advices and say, do this, do that. Just being there and listening for them can be a real source of healing for them as well, and support in moving in the right direction. And that all ties up with, compassion, empathy. So that's what I would say is the key and the right way to go about it.
absolutely that. Just being kind to them and avoiding confrontation at any way possible. I think that would really help the other person. And I don't see any more questions in the chat, but I do have one question myself. I mean, like, there's this concept, like, for example, if I am dealing with some kind of mental health challenges, let's say depression, most of the people link them with some kind of procrastination. I mean, for example, if I say that I have, like, I'm not able to think on my own properly, I'm not able to do tasks because I am facing some of these challenges, but then the other person generally thinks that I'm just that it's a way for me to procrastinate. Like, what do you have to think about this? What do you have to say about this?
Oh, definitely. Like I shared with you as well, when I came back to the US, my mind just could not function, like I could not take care of my assignments. And, like, people might think of that, as like an, I don't know, like procrastination in one way, or excuse in one way. But like, when we're not physically well, we cannot function to the best of our physical ability, right? So when we're mentally not well, we cannot function to the best of our mental ability, like taking care of tasks, even if it's small things. So just making them aware and going about telling them in that manner, I feel like will go a long way. Well, what do you say? Do you think that would help?
I mean, it does. I mean, it's kind of general, but I don't understand. Some people take it that way, but actually, as you said, perception really matters. Like
Yes.
things
At the
negative.
end of the day, all we can do is convey that in the best manner, but it is up to them for what they want to think and how they want to take it. And uh, your happiness, your worth, your peace of mind does not need to be defined by their perspectives. You did your best to make them aware and speak genuinely from your heart about this issue that you're dealing with. And that just like physical illness, or like being physically unwell, being like having mental difficulties, like hampers us so much in daily tasks. And uh, so, like, if they don't understand, then that's their perspective, and that's their doing, not ours. So that's what I would like to say. So please don't feel, uh, and we should never feel that we're responsible for someone else thinking a certain way, because we have no hand in that. All we can do is convey ourselves and what we believe in to the best of our ability, and it is up to them for how they would take it. And that is saying a lot more about them than yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, even after you express yourself and everything to the other person, and they still decide to think it otherwise, then we don't need that kind of negative energy in our life. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any more questions in the chat. I just want to mention, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to drop them and we'll be addressing. If not, we're almost at the end of our session. So let's give about a minute or so. If anyone have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself to ask questions. You don't have to like chat in the like, type in the chat or so. This is like open discussion right now. You can talk about mental health or anything, whatever you think about it, whatever your queries or concerns or whatever your stand is on it, you can talk about it. My bad, I accidentally clicked that. So sorry about that.
No, no.
I don't see any questions coming, so I think
I
we're
think,
almost at.
Ruby, there's a question in the chat
Is it?
from Pallavi.
Oh, how to stay okay. My bad. So a question from Pallavi is like, how to stay self-motivated all the time if there is no one to support you? How can you do this on your own all the time?
Well, you have your biggest supporter yourself. I mean, this, even like I've realized in my life, motivation is just, like I said earlier, just a feeling that comes and goes, but a discipline, a way of life, a practice, that's what really defines our life and ourselves. And uh, that ultimately is what, starts dictating our life. And well, that can only happen through ourselves, no matter how much support we get or do not get. Um, so like that's what I would like to say. You have yourself, and that's more than enough for you to so be self-sufficient and continue on this journey to be a higher, better, and stronger and wiser version of yourself.
I mean, yes, at the end of the day, your self-worth and self-acceptance, again, is the key to everything. So I if you have any more questions, like I think we're running out of time of our schedule. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to email us at nepaliwic at the computing.org, and we'll be sure to we will address those questions. We will be forwarding those questions to Shantanu, and he can answer those questions, and we'll reach out to you about that as well.
Sure, definitely. And anybody can feel free to contact me as well, on Facebook or Instagram, that I'll be more than happy to connect with you all. And, if you have any questions or thoughts or comments or want to reach out, feel more than free. I'll be very happy to connect. So I just want to put that out there as well.
Thank you so much for that. So we're almost at the end of our session. Thank you once again to our speaker, Mr. Shantanu, for being with us today, sharing your powerful story. It was really inspiring for me.
Thank you so much for all you guys as well. In this organization, I saw your guys's previous videos and posts, and you guys are doing such great awareness, on various issues. And I'm just grateful and honored that you invited me for this session, and I had the privilege of sharing my story and thoughts, and just connecting with you all. It's great.
I mean, we as a community are glad that we are a platform that by which we are able to educate or we raise awareness about these topics as well. So, and also thank you to our wonderful audience for being so interactive and being with us in the early morning or evenings and compromising whatever plans you had just to listen to us and discuss more about mental health.